All right, let's talk about close and open ceremonies. These are the ceremonies and the things that we do. We close one sprint and we open another. So these sprints, again, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long they are, they'll be the same length every time. And you'll have certain things you do at the end of each sprint. We've talked about a few of the ceremonies already, certain things you'll do to open up the next sprint. Now, when you first get started with this, these activities will probably take a little bit longer. That's okay. You want to learn and get good at them. And as you do, you'll find that they'll take less and less time because you'll get into this rhythm, you get into this cadence and this pattern, just like you do going to get the coffee at the Dunkin' Donuts in the morning. That you've done it enough times, it happens very, very fast, right? So this concept here, we're going to talk about in sprint iteration close. We have a show and tell. We review our velocity. We go through and do our retrospective. We usually do the retrospective after the show and tell because we want to include into the retrospective the conversations we had at the show and tell, the information we got back, the feedback and the reactions from the customers, from our product owners, interaction with stakeholders, and everything else. And then once we finish that out, that's the close of that iteration. We take that information from the retrospective. We will either populate it into, we'll take those action items and put them into a backlog to review for future sprints, or maybe something we say, hey, we could do this next sprint. Let's take this into the next sprint. It's part of what we do. We decide we want to put that in the sprint backlog for the next sprint. Typically, you do this in the morning of one day. We have an example on the right-hand side where it's Wednesday, April 22nd, and we're going to close out sprint 6. We're going to at 10 o'clock. We're going to have our show and tell. 10:30, we're going to review our sprint velocity. Usually, show and tell should only take about a half an hour because, again, you're going over a very short time frame with very specific deliverables that you had. Everybody knows what they are. Everybody knows how they should look and how they should react. You've been able to focus in on those things, so they typically go pretty quickly and pretty smoothly. You sit there and review the velocity. After that, you may want to talk about this. I have a half an hour in here. That really is. It could take as much as 5 minutes. It could be as little as 5 minutes. So you just want to make sure that you're doing this appropriately for where you are in your journey in terms of the learning curve that you've gone and the fluency you have with these different things. And then you would start your retrospective. And that retrospective, again, is usually, I've seen retrospectives with teams when they're first starting that have a lot of challenges with the dynamics of the people and things that they're dealing with the fact that it's all very new and maybe this is very counter to the culture in the organization. I've seen them go as long as 2 and 3 hours. Now, you don't want that to be the standard. That's not the norm. But in the beginning, again, there's certain things you're working through to get into this pattern. And retrospectives are one of the places where you do a lot of the review to help you figure out and see and talk about how are we doing in terms of getting into this pattern of scrums and getting into this iterative delivery pattern. Now, as you get better with that, you'll start to drop them down. Typically, they'll be anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes, usually somewhere right in the middle, 15, 20 minutes. Just because you want to have enough detail that you're having enough good conversation and you want to celebrate the things you did well. So there's a little bit of patting on the back. Hey, I want to give kudos to Charlotte over here because she did an awesome job in helping and pair with me on this one story because I had some challenges and she'd done it before. So she came in and I learned a lot and it was excellent. And the stakeholders love it. And we got it done actually in less time than I thought we were going to get it done in. So that's great. That's some stuff you want to spend time doing in the retrospective too. It's not all about fixes. It's not all about what went wrong. It's about what went right. Let's repeat what went right. What do we want to do more of? You saw those several different ways to manage your retrospective. And then opening the next sprint. In this case, I like this where you come in the morning and kind of close one day or close one route. And in the afternoon, you kind of open your new chapter, right? You take in the new things that you've been doing. Now, there are other ceremonies and other things that we do that we haven't reviewed in our high level of Scrum today. They actually aren't part of the Scrum framework. But they are things that you do to get ready for. You're always spending a little bit of time in each sprint getting ready for the next sprint. So, but that being the case, you've got those things ready. So in the afternoon, I could come in and I could review my targets, look at what we've talked about over the last couple of weeks as to what the next sprint would be. Make sure that we agree that that's the priority. make sure we agree that that's the right thing we can do. We still can do it with everything that's going on. We review the cards, and then we sign up for work. Everybody goes and they grab the work. It's that the work isn't assigned out to people. It's actually grabbed by the team. Hey, I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab that. Hey, Charlotte, you helped me with this story last time. Could you help me with this one this time? That would be really, we could pair on that. That would be excellent. You get that all done, and you're often working. So you end a sprint on one day and you begin the next sprint on the same day, and you're working. There's very little downtime. This idea around the sprint open with these reviewing the targets and the cards and getting going, that is able to happen quickly because you're always looking a little bit ahead in these sprints. You're always looking at what's going on in the next sprint. You're doing some things during the sprint that are always a little bit forward looking. So some of your capacity is looking forward slightly ahead of you, not within the next sprint, but maybe the next two sprints. And then that enables you to open very quickly. So this is a typical pattern of a very mature team who does opens and closes right back to back on the same day. You notice on this case, it's a Wednesday. Middays are kind of nice to start with because you don't have long weekend holidays interrupting things. You don't have to reschedule. Typically, Wednesdays are go days. Everybody's there. Everybody's working. There's no issues. And you're not either ending on a weekend where you need to carry over or trying to get done for a weekend so that you can get done or recovering from working over a long weekend on a Monday. So this is open and close at a high level. And again, this is something you will work towards in terms of honing in and perfecting.